Morning, Shat Nation. This is your friend Gene Lyons, and I have a quick ask for you. On the 18th of May, I am riding the Distinguished Gentleman's Ride with other men and women across the world to raise funds for prostate cancer and men's mental health research and awareness. I'm asking, knowing that this is a tough year financially for a lot of people, for anybody who has a couple bucks to spare to donate to my fund. I set a simple goal of reaching $500, not too tough, and I'm willing to put in my own money, but I would love for your help as well. If you'd like to help out, just go to gfolk.me/Gene Lyons. That's GFOLK, like gentlefolk.me/Gene Lyons, and give anything you can. Last year, we had some huge contributors, including listener Chris with a huge donation. You don't need to go big, but it would mean a lot to see your names on my fundraising page and help out some guys who could really use the assistance. Thanks so much for listening. Enjoy the show.
Remember when we first met John McClane? Argyle picked him up from the plane and took him down the Nakatomi Tower at the Christmas party. And the terrorists were overzealous, but it was sweet when they killed Ellis. And with a little help from Alan, John McClane kicked ass.
Welcome back to Shat the Movies, the podcast where we answer the question, were the movies we loved when we were growing up really that good? Have you ever caught yourself thinking, why don't they make movies like they used to? Can you still remember spending a Friday night searching for the perfect movie rental at Blockbuster Video? Do you know what Blockbuster Video is? If you answered yes, and this is the podcast for you, I'm one of your hosts, Gene Lyons, and alongside me is my co-host, Big D, Dick Ebert.
Good evening.
And each week, we take a look back in time to decide if our favorite films still hold up. The movies we cover are chosen by you, the listeners, who generously commission the films you love. If you like to see all the movies we have covered, will cover, or want to choose one for yourself, please visit shatpod.com and have a look. At the end of each podcast, we'll provide you, the audience, with a number of wipes each movie take to get off your respective butts. So thank you so much for listening. If you have not already, hit that subscribe button and share with a friend. It's how we help the podcast grow. Additionally, subscribe to our sister podcast, Shat on TV, where we review TV series such as Westworld, Taboo, American Gods, Game of Thrones, True Detective, Lovecraft Country, and Watchmen. Find all our information and past episodes at shatpod.com/TV. And finally, to hang out with us live, follow and subscribe to our Twitch channel, shatpod.com/Twitch, and our YouTube channel, where we play video games, host watch parties, and edit this podcast live. And speaking of video games, Big D, how's Helldivers treating you?
It's terrible. I'm awful. I'm going to force myself to use the keyboard.
Mm-hmm.
I have to because I know it's a strategic advantage. But right now, I'm awful. But I'll get better.
That being said, Big D, what movie are we reviewing tonight?
Yes, Gene. You feel it, don't you? That sense of inevitability. You come seeking truth, Gene. But tonight, the path reveals itself. Tonight's movie, it was not chosen. It was revealed. For what is a commission, Gene, if not the fulfillment of a prophecy? One written in code, not by the desire of us, but by a man named Jeremiah. You may believe, Gene, that you've seen this film before, but that's only an illusion of choice, Gene. Before the moment you pressed play, your path was already written. So we're watching 2003's Matrix Reloaded. And no, I cannot tell you how the code and the cake made her climax. But yep, Jeremiah, we're going back for you, buddy.
Jeremiah, Mega Commissioner, Army Ranger, fellow Helldiver,
Big time stepper,
mm-hmm. has written us and told us his thoughts on The Matrix Reloaded. He says, for my final commission in the Sci-Fi Hits Roundup, I've chosen the sequel to my favorite movie of all time, The Matrix Reloaded. Oh, fuck. This movie is the kind I can put on in the background just for the eye candy. The highway chase scene is the most expensive in cinematic history and is often what I skip to just to watch some seriously polished action. When I saw The Matrix Reloaded in theaters at 14, that's about all I took away from it. Over time, and after having to learn how to read for college, I came to realize that this was the ultimate setup for the free will versus determinism argument. Does Neo have free will, or is he the sum of the programming around him? The Matrix Reloaded is a beautiful, kung fu-packed Kant versus Hobbes debate. The CGI doesn't hold up well, and it definitely runs a bit long, but overall, I love this movie. It's 1.5 wipes from me. Thanks again, Jeremiah.
I think this is the first time Jeremiah might be walking into something he's not prepared for.
Jeremiah just posted to Instagram today about when he learned to use the Javelin weapon system and how his only question in the entire weekend of training was, can it lock onto the heat signature of a human being? And the answer was, that would be overkill. And his response was, I have no further questions. His love of the Matrix Loaded makes a lot of sense because I think overkill is the word of the day.
Oh, it makes complete sense. I remember when we got them in and we were looking at them and taking them apart. I never got to shoot one, but we had it. I had hands on, and it's a logical question, Gene. Say you had somebody hiding in a window. You want to come up, go up high, come down through the roof or the window. It's a logical question.
I would just Chuck Norris jump out the window, land right on him, and then zip line away. The Matrix Reloaded is a 2003 science fiction action film written and directed by the Wachowskis. It is the sequel to The Matrix and the second installment in the Matrix film series. The film stars Keanu Reeves, Lawrence Fishburne, Carrie-Anne Moss, Hugo Weaving, and Gloria Foster, who reprised their roles from the previous film, with Jada Pinkett Smith joining the cast. In the film, Neo, Morpheus, and Trinity attempt to reach the source of the Matrix to end a war as Zion prepares for an invasion from the machines. The video game Enter the Matrix and the Animatrix, a collection of short animations, supported and expanded the film's story. The film received generally positive reviews from critics, although most felt it inferior to the first film. The Matrix Reloaded grossed $741.8 million worldwide, breaking Terminator 2 Judgment Day's record for the highest grossing R-rated film of all time, until Deadpool surpassed it in 2016. In addition to being the highest grossing film in the franchise, it was the third highest grossing film of 2003, behind Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King, and Finding Nemo. A direct sequel titled The Matrix Revolutions was released 6 months later on November 5th, 2003. Big D, this was a huge movie, as you know, when it came out. And either I'm out of touch or the times have changed. But I remember when America was counting the days until the new Matrix movie. Like, we had seen the first one, we were wild about it. And it was just a matter of time before that next one came out. When they announced that it was being made, that was exciting. And I don't know if it's I'm old and I just don't go to the movies as often, or I don't pay attention, but I don't hear the kids getting all pumped about any upcoming movies. But then again, I don't know any kids. Is it just, are those days gone?
Well, I think back in the day, you only got a sequel if it was a huge movie. Now, everything is sequels. Everything is IP that exists. Everything is spin-offs, origin stories. If it was just the big films, like I remember Back to the Future, waiting for the sequels. Obviously, the Star Wars. I remember this. This is huge. But now it's like they're making like a sequel to The Parent Trap. Who the fuck wants to see that? Nobody's running to see that.
You saw the movie end and you loved those characters and that world so much that you didn't want it to be over. And so they would give you something else, and that was very, very exciting. You would count down the days, like I said. Whereas, yeah, the Parent Trap, that felt pretty buttoned up. I don't know if we need to go back to that world.
No, I don't need an origin story for that. I'm pretty good. But I vividly remember 99, the first Matrix, because I was in basic training. And at the end of basic training, I did one station unit training. So I went from basic into AIT. We had like a weekend off. So we all went to see this in the theater, went back to our hotel right off base, got hammered, talked about it. It blew our minds. It was like nothing we had seen before. So now 99 comes, we've seen it. Everybody's talking about what's next. And I did not remember that Reloaded was delayed because of post-production. They had some issues with the script, working on the visual effects, and that they filmed Reloaded and Revolution like almost simultaneously, and they released them 6 months apart. The one memory I did have was feeling underwhelmed leaving the theater when I saw this. It wasn't groundbreaking. It didn't blow me away. And today I tend to agree. I tend to think that 2003 Big D was pretty accurate.
Without further ado, let's slap on our sunglasses, shine up our PVC pants, and hit the trailer.
I believe it is our fate to be here. It is our destiny. I believe this night holds for each and every one of us the very meaning of our lives. This is a war, and we are soldiers. What if tomorrow the war could be over? Isn't that worth fighting for? Isn't that worth dying for?
Six months after escaping the Matrix, Neo and Trinity are a couple. With an army of Sentinels tunneling towards Zion, Commander Locke orders all ships return to prepare, but Morpheus asks one ship to remain to contact the Oracle. Within the Matrix, the lone ship's crew is encountered by a former Agent Smith, who copies himself over to the body of a crew member, Bane, and uses the phone line to leave the Matrix. Big D, you spoke about being underwhelmed. I know this movie is more than 20 years old, but the first word that came to mind as The Matrix Reloaded opened with this big action scene, which we love to see. We don't want our movies to start slow. We want action right up front. It felt dated. That's the word that came to mind. We get Trinity jumping a Ducati into a guard station. She's doing this backflip and landing in a side leg squat, which Sarah tells me is not a great way to land out of that jump. Then the helmet comes off and the hair is all greasy and lame, and there's bullet time animations, bad kung fu. It's just a good reminder that as cool as we thought we were in 2003, we weren't that cool. And then later in the movie, we learned that this was her mission to save the world. Like, everything is riding on this Trinity. And she's like, yeah, Ducati, guard station, backflip, PVC outfit. The flashiness seemed even more ridiculous.
The description you just gave is probably only 50% of what's going on. She is dual wielding automatic pistols. So she's shooting probably like 15, 16 rounds a second. There's an agent in a swan dive shooting at her. There's glass. It's everything all at once. It's slow motion. It's sped up. In the first Matrix, they used that slow motion bullet effect. I think they call it bullet time. It was a surprise. They spaced it out. They would give you a little taste of it. It had a purpose. It set the film up. It had a unique style. But here, it is everything. You got explosions. You got cops. You got motorcycles. You got high rises. You got bullet time. You got everything. And you're right. This is 4 years later. I don't think it looks as good. Less would have been more here, because right away it just felt like, hey, we know what worked. Let's give them more. Give them more. It seemed desperate.
And I know there's Westworldos out there that pay attention to every detail. I noticed in this scene that the bullet time, it was being seen through Neo's eyes, right? Like, because when it actually happens in real life, quote unquote, real life, right? When it's happening to Trinity, we don't see that bullet time, right? It's stripped away. So I get that they were going for that. But the point is the action suffers, the story suffers. It's an overload of everything that's happening. And so we could have toned it down one notch or two, and it would have been more enjoyable. It was stylistically a bad decision.
It was bad. And I know I just said no more than 30 seconds ago that the opening scene was overdone with the bullet time. But there is a part of it that works. And I think maybe it's Keanu Reeves, because Keanu Reeves is cool. Keanu Reeves we like. Keanu Reeves now, 30 years later is kick-ass. He's still John Wick. He's still badass. We still love him. We want to see Keanu Reeves fighting agents. It's a totally different story. There's something about Neo. When Neo is fighting calmly and he's wrecking these agents, it still feels cool. It doesn't look dated. His slow motion fighting style, it seems like a stylistic choice as opposed to hacky CGI or bad stunt work. The spinning and the slow motion, the martial arts, for him, it works. And I don't know why, and I can't explain it, but he comes on and immediately it calmed me down. I said, all right, I enjoy this. But when everybody else does it, it seems a bit cheesy.
I could have done with a little less of that like early Harry Potter animation. There are times when he like jumps up in the air and like spins around, and Neo definitely looks like a cartoon. I think they flew a little too close to the sun. You know what I love in these kinds of scenes? The wire work is great. The martial arts choreography is great. The sets are great. The camera work, all that stuff is good. It's just a little too much seasoning on my steak. In Zion, Morpheus announces the news of the advancing machines. The Nebuchadnezzar leaves Zion and enters the Matrix, where Neo meets the Oracle's bodyguard, Seraph, who leads him to her. The Oracle reveals that she is part of the Matrix and instructs Neo to reach its source with the help of the Keymaker. As the Oracle departs, Agent Smith appears, telling Neo that he became a rogue program after being defeated by Neo. He demonstrates his ability to clone himself and tries to take over Neo's body, but fails, prompting Neo to retreat.
So in this movie, we've got a war on two fronts. We've got Neo and the crew inside the Matrix trying to unravel the mystery of what's the purpose, his powers, could he do anything? And then we have the real world. There's some serious danger going on for humanity and everybody that's left. The machines are literally tunneling towards Zion. Everyone's panicked. There's an emergency meeting in Zion. All the ships are getting back in there. Morpheus goes up and he's like, oh, don't worry, I'm going to talk to everybody. He's like, yes, they're coming. It's immediate. They're coming. They'll be here in a couple days, but have faith. Have faith. I would rather be focusing on setting up the defenses, strategizing, getting people on a war footing, telling them this is our last stand. We're going to now take over. We're going to go back up to the surface. Instead, they come up with a bright idea to turn this pep rally into a giant underground rave with drums and music. And I'm like, okay, maybe the drums are there just to fire up the people. But no, there's writhing bodies. There's probably about 10 different sets of tits, nipples, sweaty bodies in mesh shirts, rubbing against each other, dirty feet. Everyone's taking ecstasy in the cave. People are making out. It's intermingled with a lovemaking scene between Neo and Trinity and their bodies. And what are you doing? Humanity is at its death's door. They're facing extinction. Apparently, the answer is grind, have sex, and we'll deal with prepping for war tomorrow.
Big D, if this is all that's left for humanity in the dystopian future, I say fucking let the machines win. Like, we don't deserve to exist if this is our idea of a good time. Just drum circle, subterranean drum circle. No thanks.
But you have to admit, everybody looked good.
Yeah, because they're starving.
Where were the ugly people, Gene?
They're starving.
But they all looked young. And they looked, even though they were living in a dirty underground lair, they all looked stylish. They all looked like they were wearing like derelict or something that Yeezy would have designed.
They're into athleisure. It's like us, right? It's like when we started working from home. Athleisure skyrocketed. You just want to wear kind of like a canvas sack sort of thing. And then you want to leap a lot. There's a lot of slow motion leaping and helping your friends leap. That's the way they get down in Zion. But Big D, part of aging is looking back and realizing that things we thought were cool maybe weren't so cool. Drum circles, raves, Morpheus. Back in the day, I remember this distinctly, right? 2003. We were in awe of Lawrence Fishburne, right? He had those cool round sunglasses. He's the guy that started the whole red pill thing, right? But watching Reloaded, it's clear that they keyed in on something that the audience probably liked, Morpheus, and then they just push it a little too far. They give you way too much of the thing that they think worked. For some reason, he's shirtless. He just had to take his shirt off and give a graduation speech. It's tacky. Clunky fight sequences. He's just not good at this. He's not Keanu Reeves. A romantic subplot with Jada Pinkett Smith that never plays out. And did you notice the thing he does with his arms behind his back? What is that all about?
I don't know what he was doing with his arms, and I understand that he's supposed to be a prophet. He's somewhat of a religious nut. He believes in the one. He believes in the prophecy. Everyone else is telling him, no, this is a real world danger. But what gets me is every time Morpheus says any single word that comes out of his mouth, it's like he's reading it off of a carved stone tablet. Everything is like dead-eyed, monotone delivery. Everything is intense. Everything is like deeply philosophical. I just tried to imagine him. If we took Morpheus into the real world, what would he do if he had to interact with normal people at the grocery store or work or order a sandwich? Everything would be dramatic, over the top. He'd be like, just shut the fuck up. And I found myself thinking, Gene, if you're at work, right? If I gave you a challenge, how long could you go full Morpheus? Everything you had to say would be with that conviction. Everything you would do would be dramatic. You would look off gazingly. You would wear your little sunglasses. How long before everyone you worked with would just say, fucking stop it?
I'm a shockingly fast talker at work. People would know immediately. But in Arizona, you got to be really careful with that kind of talk because people will think you're making fun of natives. Like, imagine anybody else talking like that. You're like, you think that's funny?
Yeah, I didn't even realize that. Yes.
You think the Navajo people
Yes.
are a source of amusement?
Chief Gene. They would think you were. Yeah, that would be politically incorrect.
I can say that because my brother-in-law is native.
I still want to see it.
I'll do it. I'll do it and record it and see how long I can get away with it. And I can at least release the audio.
You have to speak in loops. You have to, everything is a mystery, no clear answers, and everything is dramatic and over the top.
Do I have to wear the sunglasses?
No, I'll let you get away with that,
Okay.
but you just have to make really intense eye contact with everybody.
Do I have to wear a shirt?
For the first half of the day, yes. But if
Okay.
later on you
All
want to
right.
let your chest hair fly, you can do it.
Now that we're done bagging on Morpheus, I want to bag on Neo a little bit. If I hate Reloaded for one thing, it's these Neo Superman scenes. For those who don't recall, Neo at this point has gained the power of flight, and he uses it repeatedly throughout the movie. And that's fine. That's the world that we've built. Neo can fly. Okay. But maybe in addition to uploading Kung Fu into his wetware, the crew of the Nebuchadnezzar could have slipped in, I don't know, a disc about strategy or like a triage upgrade. Neo's mission is to find the Oracle. And then from her, find out how to get to the source. Okay? Great. He found her. She said, free the Keymaker from the Merovingian. And then she dips. The Oracle is dipping. Neo sticks around. Agent Smith pops up. Neo, mission objective has been accomplished. You met with the Oracle. You found out what to do next, right? It is time to extract. This isn't Helldivers. Instead, Neo stays and he fights hand to hand against like 100 Agent Smiths before flying away, which he had the power to do in the first place. The clock is ticking. The Sentinels are coming. The Nebuchadnezzar is exposed. Okay, let's go.
See, but I'm going to defend him here because the Oracle, the visit, he's not getting any answers. It's wall to wall gibberish. He's asking questions and she'll say things like, you can't see past a choice you don't understand, but that choice has already been made. And Neo's looking at her like, what the fuck? Give me an answer. You're supposed to be on my side here. And none of it tracks. And it's all delivered like there's meaning to it. And it's nonstop. And yes, he has all of these steps that he's supposed to do. But there's nothing that comes of it. It's one giant logic loop where it's just talking to himself. And it's about free will, not having free will. And it doesn't go anywhere. It's all style over substance. And Gene, you talk about the fighting. When you get now this wall of Agent Smiths and it's a giant fight and it's going crazy, the CGI looks its worst. There are some extras that have masks on to look like Agent Smith. There's some bad CGI. There's some you can see are different sizes. It doesn't really work. But when Neo runs into Seraph first, when he's going to go talk to the Oracle, it breaks out into this full-blown kung fu duel, which I'm like, yes, I'm here for it because Neo fighting in the dojo. I like it. But when it's over, Seraph says, you don't know anyone until you've fought them. And I'm thinking, what is the logic here? You and I, Gene, we've trained. You do legitimate Krav Maga and BJJ, and I've gone out there as a tourist and used my little jujitsu knowledge. We've sparred a little bit. I went to your studio. And did you learn something from me, Gene, that you share? Was there some weakness in me you found besides being distracted by my pendulous balls?
You cut easily, so I found that out.
So having hands on me, it helped you to understand me?
Fit a lot of spaghetti in this baby.
I feel better about you. I feel very, if you had to defend me,
Yeah.
I would feel very safe in your capable hands.
I would like to think that I know a lot of people that I've never fought. Like certainly I don't know if you've ever fought your parents. I've never fought my mom or my boss or my dogs, but I know them pretty well.
Knowing about King B, right?
Yeah.
The stories of him getting his jaw broken and just walking away, I feel like that story gives me insight into who he is.
Sure.
I do believe you don't have to fight a person, but you have to maybe have seen them fight or see them in physical combat to understand. Is this person going to run away? Is this person going to cower? I remember the one time I saw Roger Roper fight.
What?
We played softball in the ultra competitive league where all the guys from the teams, like the bat manufacturers, would play there, the open major guys. So Roger shows up with his father in the stands. There's this game going on, and Roger had a habit of running his mouth to people that he shouldn't.
That checks.
Don't run your mouth to a 45-year-old prison guard and talk shit about softball. So that said individual ran into third base, taking out Roger, and started to talk shit and pummel him. And Roger's defense was to curl up like a ball.
No.
And I love Roger.
Did the guy stop?
Yes, the guy stopped immediately because he felt bad. And Roger's father came running out of the stands. It was this big to do. And then Roger wrote this 3-page letter to UTRIP, the governing body, and was like, it is not fair that 45-year-old men are coming here and assaulting teammates of mine and drinking beer. And that showed me a lot about Roger. I love the man. I still talk to him. But reading that letter and watching him curl up in a ball to defend himself showed me a lot.
Yeah, I think there's certainly an added dimension to sparring that brings out hidden aspects of people's personality, both in jiu-jitsu and in Muay Thai. That's kind of where the talking stops and like the action starts. You know who's afraid, who's crazy, who knows how to tone it down and learn, who's got too much ego and will never learn. This last Saturday, I was sparring. It was about like 11 a.m. or something, and there was a different Krav Maga organization, not Krav Maga Alliance, which I'm a part of, but there's a different organization that was using our gym to do like a certification thing. It was like a class thing. And then they would get a certification for instructors. I called it the conclave of Krav. It was like, I felt like all the Cardinals had gathered, all like older white dudes. And they're kind of standing off to the side and they've got their Grandmaster t-shirts and their 10th degree black belts, which we don't have in Alliance. So I was just kind of joking. I was like, hey, you guys want to get on the mats? Like, we're all sparring. Why not? I mean, you're here already. You got your t-shirts and your pants with your last name on them. Like, you guys want to come out? None of them wanted any of the heat. None of them wanted any of the smoke. And I thought that was really interesting. Maybe they were being respectful. Maybe. But my guess is that those guys weren't doing 3-minute rounds with anybody.
No. Fighters want to fight.
Yeah. Or spar. I will take an open mat opportunity anytime as long as people are going like, like we have rules, 10% to the head, so you're not getting a concussion. Yeah, let's party.
Yeah, don't show up with names on your back of your shirt and your pants and rash guards if you don't want to fight.
Grandmaster. Now, as a special treat for Jeremiah, I do want to point out that I understand the reason why Neo had to fight him. In the lore of the Matrix, Seraph is the bodyguard for the Oracle, but he's basically CAPTCHA. He needs to know that you're human. And so by fighting you, it's basically like click all the panels that have a tricycle in them. That's what he's doing.
So he couldn't show them a picture of a crosswalk in a bus?
I mean, it's a better movie if they fight.
Imagine if he did that. Pick the 3 pictures with a donkey. It might work.
Now, getting back to the Oracle, I know that you felt that conversation talked in a loop and that it was just gibberish, but I have to tip my hat to the attempt. As clumsy as these conversations were, I appreciated that they attempted to explain motivations for the characters in the Matrix. The architect, he needs the one, Neo in this case, for the reboot. The Oracle and the other exiled programs, like they want to continue existing. They're exiled. And so they either assist or impede Neo based on their own self-interests. Agents gain agency. Without these forces in the movie, The Matrix is nothing more than a biblical parable or a superhero comic, right? There's no reason why Neo should be this successful or why humans shouldn't just be wiped out, completely altered for machine dominance. There is a reason that he's able to get this far. He's being allowed to get this far because the Matrix is not one unified thing. Everybody has a different motivation in it. Nobody's purely good. Nobody's purely evil. As they say repeatedly in the movie, things exist because they must exist. And I sort of respected that in a way.
Yeah, but you could have streamlined it.
Oh, 100%.
You didn't need to go 5 different steps and have like the architect give you a 15-minute speech. This is 2 hours and 15 minutes, Gene.
Big D, you knew you were going to eat the candy when you came here. So why don't you just eat the candy?
Oh, snap, girl.
Neo, Morpheus, and Trinity visit the Merovingian, who is imprisoning the Keymaker. During the rescue, Morpheus, Trinity, and the Keymaker are pursued by agents and the Merovingians' chief henchmen, the twins. After a long chase, Trinity escapes, Morpheus defeats the twins, and Neo saves Morpheus and the Keymaker from Agent Johnson. In a Hail Mary plot to reach the source, the Logos crew must destroy a power plant, and the Vigilant crew must disable a backup power station. Haunted by a vision of Trinity's death, Neo asks her to remain on the Nebuchadnezzar. When the Vigilant is destroyed by a Sentinel, Trinity replaces the Vigilant crew and completes their mission. Meanwhile, the Keymaker is killed by Agent Smith after unlocking the door to the source for Neo.
Remember, we talked about this, Gene. It's a battle for survival. There is a real-world attack on Zion. The Matrix, Neo is getting to the middle of it. He's going to figure out what's going on. And every program seems to have a purpose. You know, what is your purpose? What is your feature? What are you doing? And when we get Neo, Morpheus, and Trinity, they head, for some reason, to this upscale virtual nightclub, which one of the programs likes to just hang out there. What is your purpose? But you're hanging out there, and right off the bat, he is spouting off, again, more philosophical bullshit. It's techno babble and his smug French accent. And then it starts to get really, really weird. He sees another woman across the restaurant, beautiful woman, and he tells Neo, he says, things happen for a reason, cause and effect, causality. And he's like, I'm going to send her a digital cake. So he sends her a piece of digital pie or cake to the woman at the other table. And apparently the code baked into the dessert will cause her to have a full-blown orgasm in the middle of the restaurant. So he's narrating it, and I'm not exaggerating. You see her start to sweat, her lips part, she's breathing heavy, and then the camera zooms in on the Matrix code under her skirt and straight into her crotch. We get Matrix code vagina, and it explodes into a light show. It's bizarre, it's jarring. It's from a different movie. I tolerated the boobs and the gyration and the humping in the rave, but we have life and death stakes here. For them to take a side quest to go bust a nut for a piece of cake in the restaurant, it's a bit weird.
Film is an interesting medium, Big D. It gives you the chance to show and tell at the same time. And some movies do that really well. They use symbolism, they use visuals to enhance the story, to tell us more about the characters, to tell us more about the world. American Beauty, Inception, Jojo Rabbit, they do a great job of marrying what you're seeing and what you're hearing and what people are saying and the items around them. The Matrix does not do this. It is philosophy poorly illustrated. They're throwing all kinds of notions about control and free will and reality at us. And to help us understand, clearly they're attempting to illustrate it using things on the screen. The Oracle is talking about candy. She's talking about birds. The Merovingian talks about coochie code lady. But none of it is helping me understand the ideas being shared. I would have appreciated a chart, an illustration, anything other than what we were seeing, because it's just more confusing.
Give me some schematics. Why do you have the Keymaker actually walking around with a whole set of keys? He's digital. He knows the code. Why is he sitting there filing the teeth on keys? Are we supposed to be like, wow, look how cool this is? That key is a metaphor. It's for the ability to open the door. And it's fucking stupid. You got this guy running around with looking like a janitor with 200 keys on his key ring. It's dumb. It's style over substance.
Of course, he's a tiny Asian man. Of course.
Has to be.
Has to be.
I'm surprised he didn't have bonsai trees when they go into his office.
So thankfully at this point, we get something that Jeremiah had previewed in his letter to us, which is the chase scene, the most expensive in cinematic history. Even the most cynical moviegoer has to admit that this freeway chase scene, complete with that foreboding line of Morpheus said freeways are suicide, this scene was a thrill ride. It's got motorcycles, semi-trucks, dudes phasing in and out of solid form, katana blades chopping cars in half. You got flying Neo, people being possessed by agents. And it was a welcome break because all we had seen up until this point, as far as action goes, was 30-on-1 kung fu and just relentless automatic gunfire. this was something different. This was something neat to watch.
Theoretically, it was different. But this entire scene is a series of repeating tricks. They don't do anything new at the end that they didn't do in the beginning. It's jumping from the car onto the truck, them fighting, Morpheus doing flips and landing right on the edge of the truck. Then he gets his footing again, does another flip forward. There's more fighting. It is the same formula over and over and over again until you get Trinity and that Ducati. Gene, I'm not a bike guy, but when that Ducati, that 996, sleek, powerful, it made me want to get a bike.
Yeah.
And that part of it, I really liked. That part was fun. But watching Morpheus fight these multiple series of agents without any serious consequence didn't do anything for me.
Fun little fact. A lot of those scenes where Carrie-Anne Moss was on the Ducati 996, it was actually Carrie-Anne Moss on the Ducati. Not the stunts, obviously, but she did ride it. Respect.
Yeah, respect.
Should have worn a helmet. Well, Neo reaches the source and meets a program called the Architect, the creator of the Matrix, who explains that as the One, Neo is an intentional part of the design of the Matrix, which is now in its 6th iteration. Neo has a choice. Either reboot the Matrix from the source and pick a handful of survivors to repopulate the soon-to-be-destroyed Zion, as his predecessors all did, or go to save the imperiled Trinity, causing the Matrix to crash and killing everyone in it. Neo chooses the latter.
So when we watched and reviewed Westworld, I knew the series was in trouble when we didn't have any fear of our favorite characters being killed off, because the stakes were never clear. You could always bring somebody back. Something that would kill one of the hosts didn't kill another. There was no consistency. And it's hard to get invested in Reloaded because the rules are all over the place. I mentioned about the fight on top of the truck. I wanted to feel like I was engaged. In the first movie, we knew Neo, he's hooked in, he's in the real world. If he dies inside the Matrix, if he is killed in any way that a normal person would get killed, Neo in the real world would be killed. Here, it's blurry. The agents can take over anyone, and the agents are fighting, but why aren't the agents just swarming him like Smith did? It doesn't make any sense. I don't know. Would a razor cut, could that kill Morpheus? I don't know. I don't know what's real danger. Can bullets kill you now? Because it seems like Morpheus almost has the skills of the Superman. He can jump now super heights. He can crush cars with his feet, things that would kill a normal person. So they're starting to blur those lines. I don't know who can die in the Matrix or not. They're punching, they're slicing, they're crashing cars, and nothing seems to matter because the damage, it's inconsistent. Sometimes they can shake off a punch. They can shake off getting hit by a car. And those dreadlock twins, they look fucking cool. I got to admit, they look awesome. And I remembered them looking cool, and you don't know quite what their power is. They seem like they can go into like a spirit world where they turn into like demons and they have like Medusa. Their hair starts to kind of move around. But what hurts them? Every time you shoot at them, they go transparent and they fall through. What are their powers? How do they regenerate instantaneously? Is Neo a threat to them? I don't know. Why should I care? Could they kill anyone? What are the stakes? It's not clear. So the action in the end turns out to be a noisy series of flashy, impressive stunts, explosions. But in the end, I was never worried that anybody would die.
Didn't one of them get his arm stuck in the door? Like he stuck his arm in the door?
No, I didn't even think of that. Yes, his arm was stuck in the door.
Yeah. So, one, couldn't he just like phase through the fucking door?
He could,
like
because his brother
his twin did. His twin, who is exactly the same as him. But then also, why did Morpheus just fucking katana blade his arm off?
He would have healed it. Once he went transparent, he could heal any wound.
Yeah, but you could shut the door. Once you shut the door, you're home free, right? Anyway, I found myself trying to explain a lot of this away because I really wanted to like the movie Jeremiah. I was like, okay, bullets are projectiles, right? Projectiles can be avoided because physics in this virtual world can be warped. Time can be warped. Hand-to-hand combat, it seems, maybe it's a bit more reliable. But then I'm like, wait a minute. Hand-to-hand combat, it's It's physics too. You're hitting somebody, you're kicking somebody. If you're operating in a virtual world, your hand is not real. It's as real as the bullet, right? So if you can will your hand to be faster, why couldn't you will your bullets to be faster than your punches? And then I was like, wait a second. Neo's not even using guns. Like did you notice that?
Yeah.
Motherfucker just shows up. Maybe start using some guns, Neo. Maybe you could get through these situations as opposed to just punching and kicking everybody. Does he kill anybody in this movie?
Well, I know he smacks Smith around quite a bit, a whole
Smacks him
bunch of
around.
them. He hits him with some concrete on the end of like a fence pole. He's beating the shit out of people, but I don't think he actually kills anybody.
Oh, no. He kills motherfuckers in the Merovingians lair. I forgot about that. He kills a bunch of dudes.
Oh, no. It's those same 4 or 5 clowns. I don't think we see them when they're pulling weapons off the wall. I don't think we see them dead. The 2 that get killed.
No. We straight up see them dead.
Okay, because Persephone, she shoots one with a silver bullet.
Yeah.
Again, what's the rules? Are they fucking werewolves? Did you need a silver bullet?
Those guys are.
No, they weren't. You're making that up.
They made a whole point about it. They were like, that's like when you see a vampire or aliens or werewolves, those are rogue. Those are rogue outlier programs. Those guys were like werewolves or vampires or something. I think they're vampires.
I thought what they were saying was if people see things that are out of line, that people perceive them as supernatural. I didn't think in the code there's real werewolves.
Well, I think that's what they are. Otherwise, why would you need a silver bullet?
Also, Gene, do the programs have feelings? Why would you go into a restaurant where you say I can't taste the food, so it's something that isn't a real experience, but then you go into the bathroom to have sex? What's the point of that? What's going on?
I think blowjobs transcend reality.
So you're saying like my antivirus on my computer might want to get fellatio?
It's only one way to find out.
I got to put a new port on this thing, and maybe we could try to see it. But the plot is all over the place. I'm trying to remember the basic layout of the plot as I'm watching it. I know where it's going to end, so it's not making any sense, Gene. I don't know. They're not following good storytelling. We talked about this happens, therefore this happens. When you do that with your story, like the South Park creators say, if it all fits in, then you know you're telling a good story. Instead, here, everything is like Neo meets the Oracle and she says, go meet the Keymaker. Okay, so it's this and then this happens. But there's no clear cause and effect. It's just a sequence of overcomplicated events strung together. Characters go from one scene to another. They spout some bullshit abstract philosophy. It doesn't push the story forward. No one finds out anything or discovers anything through really just going on a mission. It's just them laying out a story in some convoluted layers of bullshit and lore. And it feels like it's just this pretentious story, not like I'm watching an action movie.
Yeah, where the fuck is the discovery for Neo? Why doesn't he have to think at all? There's no thinking involved. Just like, oh, I do the thing, right? And I don't want to hear any bullshit about this is about free will, yada, yada, yada. And you touched on this, Big D, but a prime example of this flawed storytelling, okay, is Persephone. Persephone, get this. You asked if programs have feelings. Programs have wives, dude. The Merovingian has a wife named Persephone. And she's like, well, he's cheating on me, getting blowjobs in the bathroom, and he doesn't kiss me like he used to kiss me before, back in the summer of 69. So she's like, hey, Neo, you want access to the Keymaker who will get you to the source of the fucking Matrix? I want a kiss, like a hot, sexy kiss. So I can remember what love feels like. How the hell does this tie into the universe in any fucking way? What is the cause? What is the effect? What is the logic?
It's just some weird fanfic, erotic. Like there's erotic scenes throughout this film that just don't make any sense. Does that mean that the programs feel jealousy? Mm-hmm. Neo isn't a threat to the Matrix. It should be every program, every NPC within the world should be pulling at the strings from the center. Everyone should be selfish, horny, hungry, and wanting to destroy the Matrix. Neo's maybe there to set them free too. It's fucking crazy. The Keymaker, that son of a bitch was done with it. He's been sitting in that office alone. There's probably a lot of sad programs, Gene.
Oh, tons of sad programs.
Tons of. Maybe we need to see this movie from the program side.
Yeah.
Where they just sit around all day like,
I do feel like there's somebody out there. Yeah, it's like the Office for programs. The ones that aren't fighting.
Yes.
I do feel like there's an entire cohort of the audience out there who has watched the Animatrix and like played the video game. They're like, you idiots. Listen, I shouldn't have to watch the Animatrix or play the video game to understand what the fuck is going on in the Matrix Reloaded. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you see the architect sitting at his desk like Michael Scott with a best boss coffee cup. And then in comes, who's Dwight?
Glock is Dwight. Well, Neo's vision of Trinity comes true as she is shot by Agent Thompson while falling off a building. Neo catches her and removes the bullet from her chest before restarting her heart. They return to the real world where Sentinels destroy their ship. Neo realizes he can sense the machines in the real world and telepathically destroys them, but falls into a coma. The crew are picked up by the Hammer, whose captain reveals that the machines wiped out other ships defending Zion after someone prematurely activated an EMP. Only one survivor was found, the Smith-possessed Bane, who lies beside Neo in the medical bay, also unconscious.
More powers are revealed, Gene. We get to the end of the movie. Did they explain why Neo has changed? Did they explain how he learned about these new powers? Is this like Run Lola Run, where love in the end is the ultimate power? He sticks his hand in her chest and pulls out the slug, then restarts her heart. This is some Jedi bullshit where they can heal wounds. It's ridiculous. And the movie is splitting itself into two different stories that we talked about. And they're focusing on the wrong one. So much of Matrix Reloaded is spent wandering around within the Matrix, talking to abstract programs like the Oracle, the Architect, the Keymaker. It doesn't mean anything. They're dumping dumb philosophy and cryptic riddles that don't lead us anywhere. It's mumbo jumbo bullshit, and the plot doesn't move forward. Why aren't you showing us the real world, the impending peril of these diggers and these sentinels digging, closing in on Zion? And I know, spoiler alert, in the next movie they do, we get to see more of that. But it's as if they had one good movie and they said, how can we stretch it out? And it's a lot of philosophy when instead we should have been focusing on prep, Zion, the danger, the fear. There should have been impending doom. And instead we're on like a side quest to open up one of the doors and do some kind of bullshit power plant shenanigans like Ocean 11.
What was the better bringing your lady back from the dead scene? This one or The Abyss?
Well, The Abyss, without a doubt.
You just got to slap her and call her a bitch?
It seemed more realistic than sticking your transparent hand into her chest cavity and then like squeezing her heart and bringing it back. But he didn't even save her, Gene. She's still dead.
Wait, what?
She looked like she was dead at the end of it. Did you? I think
she was looking at him while he was in a coma. She was sitting right next to him.
When was he in a coma?
When he put down the Sentinels.
The real world.
The real world.
Okay, I got you. Sorry, I'm confused. I'm crossing the streams. I'm thinking about the Matrix version when they're sitting and he's cradling her body, and that's when, he didn't really stick his hand into her heart in the real world. So, okay, sorry.
No.
Sorry, but that would have been a magic trick. Even though in the real world now, he's got some kind of fucking Harry Potter force or the Jedi force to where he can EMP and short circuit the real world Sentinels.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't do too much, my powers. And then he passes out. A lot of things to be answered, and I think that's another mistake that the movie did. You're stretching out the material. Cliffhangers, it's good for a TV show, right? Cliffhanger of the season, maybe you got a year until the show comes back. It keeps people involved. Here, I just spent 2.5 hours almost watching this. Back in the day, I probably spent, $10, $15 to go to the movies, got some popcorn, got a drink. I sat there. I thought I was going to get a story. Beginning, middle, and end. There's going to be some hero's journey. There's going to be some growth. The plot's going to be moved along. Instead, I just get a no payoff to be continued slapped on the screen. What if I don't want to come back and see it? What if I have no interest? Can you really do that? This is like giving me 50% of a movie. I don't think it's fair. I think people back then probably were pissed. I'm owed a full arc. This is not an episode or a TV series. This is a standalone film, and I don't think it's fair the way they ended it.
To be clear, for people who haven't seen this movie in a while, too, this isn't the sort of thing where a movie like the heroes win and then like the camera pans to the ashes and like a Class of Nukem High, right? Where it's like, oh, there's a little at the end. It's not that. The story is just rolling along. And then suddenly, bomb, like to be continued. It is the dumbest fucking ending. What if I was terminally ill? What if the last movie I went to see was The Matrix Reloaded? And I was like, I love The Matrix. I want to see how it ends, you know, whatever. And I go to the theater, I see it, and they hit me with a to be continued. I'm dying in the next 6 months, right? Compounded by the fact that I fucking forgot in all this shit that Agent Smith had hacked into Bane, who, by the way, they named Bane. Like, I'm not letting that guy on my ship anyway, but I totally forgot about that because it was so long ago and so much stupid shit had happened since then that I was like, I thought the guy had just been bought off, or he was like the dude in the first movie, you know, or just really like steak. It's Agent Smith in there.
If that's the case, Gene, he's got some kind of like a hooked blade. He has real world Neo right in front of him in Zion.
Yeah.
And instead he wants to be coy and pretend like, oh, I'm going to do this on the stealth. You could have slit his throat in the real world there immediately. They were all unarmed except for real world Bane. You could have cut Neo's fucking head off.
Maybe it's like Men in Black, though. Like when the alien gets in the dude's body where he's kind of like sugar water. Like he can't really fight that well because he's only got like partial control of Bane.
He looked like he was pretty good. He was carving up his hand to show the blade was that was pretty darn good. But and for people who haven't seen it, Gene didn't even. This is the parallel. Imagine in Star Wars, we see Luke going down the Death Star run. He shoots, and then it cuts to black. That's what it was. Neo is laying unconscious on a gurney, and Bane is next to him, and it cuts. There's no resolution, nothing. Maybe it was like a Sopranos deal. Like maybe Neo really got whacked at that point.
All right, Big D. Now's the time of the podcast where we give our Shat score for The Matrix Reloaded. The Shat scores are our way of telling you how many wipes this movie takes to get off your respective butts. 0 wipes is a perfect movie. It is like wiping your ass with silk. And 5 wipes is an absolute disaster movie. It's a sweaty Zion drum circle rave. I'll go first. Got to tell you, Jeremiah, I love you. I think The Matrix, the original, was a fine film. I think I gave it 1 wipe. It was very, very good. The Matrix Reloaded is one of the worst sequels to a great movie that I've ever seen. The action is largely nonsensical. It was a little bit too much. The philosophy, I appreciate the attempts, but it's clunky, and I don't feel like I understood fatalism or free will any more than I did before watching the movie. In fact, probably less. I felt like they hyper-focused on Trinity, Neo, and Morpheus in ways that I didn't really care about. Let's be honest. Neo's the only interesting person in this movie. Focus more on him. Agent Smith was okay. But overall, I got to say that this is a pretty weak sophomore entry in the series, and I got to go 3 3/4 wipes.
I agree with you. It's sad because I remember when I saw it in the theaters that I was disappointed. You could almost feel like we could see through the camera and you could see the Wachowskis struggling. What are we going to do? The original was brilliant. It was a concept everybody could grasp and everybody could understand. Are we living in a simulation? And much like Lucas trying to expand on the lore of Star Wars, they failed. It seemed like there was some difficult times, and it comes across in a plot that's muddied. I just kept waiting for there to be the attack on Zion, and then the to be continued comes up, and I was like, fuck.
Think about the scene when Neo gets the call in the office in the original Matrix, right?
Yeah.
And he's getting the instructions. Who is this guy who's calling him? What the fuck is going on? Like, he's got to duck down, and he's got to say, that's exciting, dude. That alone was more exciting than all the action sequences in this movie. They lost the magic of the first one.
So, Gene, in the end of the first one, when I think it's Trinity, it goes into the phone booth. I gave the original 1. This was, I don't even know if part 3 is even worse. Stick with the Animatrix, people. I think it's the Renaissance is the one that's really good.
Well, 3.5 wipes from Big D and 3 3/4 wipes from me. That gives us an average wipe score of 3.625 wipes for the Matrix Reloaded.
So, Gene, with a score of 3.625 wipes, that now ties this in the 326 spot with it, Trading Places, and Jingle All the Way. Slightly better than Labyrinth and slightly worse than Porky's and Twister. I would rather watch any of those over this film.
I would watch the shit out of some Porky's right now. And Twister was way more fun. Absolutely.
I would watch anything over this film.
Wow. That's a lot.
Almost anything. I'm looking. Masters of the Universe? Yes, I would watch that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's sad. Well, Jeremiah, we appreciate you taking us through the years with The Matrix Reloaded and Star Trek First Contact, The Running Man, Return of the Jedi. Very educational run through sci-fi of the ages. Thanks again for being a friend of the pod. Big D, before we close out, we got some voicemail to hit. And the first one comes from Alexander Wolfgang about Star Wars.
Finally, someone has the balls to say it. Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope, is not that good. It is boring. I mean, don't get me wrong. Empire's very fun. Return of the Jedi is very fun. I like a lot of the newer stuff. Mandalorian, all that stuff is very fun. Honestly, I actually thought Solo was pretty fun. But when your protagonist in Star Wars is just, he's whiny the whole time. It feels like he's constantly, I want to be a pilot. I want to go fight for the rebels. I don't want to be a farmer. Something's wrong with this droid. Oh, dude. I just couldn't get past how just annoying Luke was. Anyways, he gets so much more badass in the later movies. I feel like one of the things about Star Wars, though, is that it became just so overly saturated. And maybe that's what kind of fueled this, like, negativity towards it for myself. For myself, I feel like I've grown to be a little more negative towards Star Wars. And who knows, maybe it's not the saturation of everything. Maybe it's the fans. The fans are bonkers to me. The craziness of the fans. We get it. It's a saga. It's all this stuff. But man, calm down, people. The fact that people are getting death threats because of Star Wars, it's silly to me. And can we please get away from Skywalkers? I mean, at the end of Mandalorian, spoiler alert, by the way, at the end of Mandalorian, Luke Skywalker shows up. And it's like, come on, dude. Like, it could have been so many other characters. It could have been Ezra. It could have been so many other characters that came in to do something with Grogu. But think about it. We are galaxies away. We jumping planet to planet to planet. There are so many different things we can explore, but we keep diving back to the same Skywalker story. Let's get away from the Skywalkers. Don't get me wrong. I know that there's cartoons. There's all the extra stuff. And again, it's so saturated. You get lost in the mix. For the regular fan, all I see is Skywalkers. Let's get away. That's what I liked about Mandalorian, is it got away from the Skywalkers. And then it just brings you right back. Can we get off of Tatooine as well? Sorry for the rant. Love the show, guys. I'm just going to calm down now. I'm probably going to get some hate anyways on this one. Who cares? Have a good one.
I think that's the most passionate he's ever been.
This is the guy who got upset with me because I said that DeLoreans weren't all that interesting. I think that's what I said, which, by the way, I was just talking about collecting like nostalgic things, I think. But Alexander Wolfgang, you're absolutely right. Thank you for echoing this. And here's the thing. Again, not to yuck anybody's yum. I just don't understand it. It's the generational Star Wars stuff, right? So like you've got now people our age, Big D, whose parents got them into Star Wars, and now they've got their kids into Star Wars, and it's X-Wing backpack and Yoda lunchbox and like all the the merchandising. But what I don't get is like how the hell does that capture any kid's attention? And are you forcing that on them? Because it seems to be what they have in common. And I certainly hope that if I ever have a child, I will have more in common with that child than fucking Star Wars.
Yeah, and I should be that fan base that the Star Wars films are made of. I have my Millennium Falcon up on the ceiling.
Huh?
Or it's not up on the ceiling. It's in like this little recess. So I don't want people to think I'm hanging it from like the ceiling and like reenacting.
That's what I thought.
No. It's in like a little nook, right? My original Millennium Falcon was a kid. I should be their target audience. And the fact that I noped out on the whole Obi-Wan series and Ahsoka Tano series, or I didn't watch any of that. And there is hope. There is hope, Alexander Wolfgang. That Kathleen Kennedy, we can slay that witch and she can leave Lucasfilm because they've already canceled the Rey sequel and they've replaced it now with Sean Levy is directing Star Wars Starfighter with Ryan Gosling. It is a completely new, wholly original story from Star Wars. Hopefully no Jedi, limited. It should be, at least there's hope. Fingers crossed that we get something besides Rogue One and Andor, because otherwise it's dead. It's dead and gone, and it's the memory is tainted.
Thanks, Alexander Wolfgang, for your voicemail. We have another one about Star Wars, and that's coming from Johnny Glass.
If I'm repeating myself, I apologize. I think I just screwed up when I was trying to send this, but Big D, it is C3PO, not 3CPO. It's driving me bonkers listening to it right now, and I'm pretty sure you did it on Empire Strikes Back episode 2. I've been listening to you guys for years. I love you. But please, it's C3PO. Anyway, you guys have a great one. My name's John. I'm from New York. Been listening for a few years now.
I'm dyslexic. Yes, you're right.
I was going to say, John, it's called fucking dyslexia. And yes, I can't believe you take it. We're all New Yorkers here, John. What the fuck?
Dude, I didn't even know I was doing it.
Oh, you do it all the time, and I'm just like, yeah, that's
awful. This is like what was it, Dundar Barbarian or Dundar? What the hell was it on Game of Thrones?
But here's the thing: we're a team, Johnny. We're a team, Big D and I. So if he says 3CPO, I always immediately right after say C3PO. So you know that we know. But yeah, he's dyslexic.
Fuck, I didn't know. I'm so sorry. I can't believe I was doing that.
He's dyslexic. I don't really know what meatloaf tastes like. Everyone's got their thing.
I can't believe I've been doing that. I would have gone, if you pulled me in front of a judge and had me testify, I would have said there is no way I know it is C3PO.
Yeah. Can I add another factor to all this? And these are not excuses, guys. This is no. These are not excuses. It's just things you should know. We also record this podcast at a time that works for both of us. And for me, that's great because it's 8 p.m. on a Wednesday evening. For Big D right now, it's 11 p.m. when we start the recording.
It's 1 a.m. right now.
It's 1 a.m. right now. He's had a whole day of work. He took his kid to, was it karate or swimming today?
Karate and volleyball.
Karate and volleyball. Did you feed her too?
I did. I went food shopping. I did a whole bunch of stuff. It was very domestic.
And then he had to enter the fucking Matrix. You know?
Yeah. And then I had to come to a realization that I've been saying 3CPO. Yeah. Fuck me, man.
So, and Johnny, I'm not saying that you're being cruel on this one. The man has dyslexia.
For years, I thought that the robot in Buck Rogers was Twinkie.
What's his name?
Twinkie.
He's the one that goes Beady Beady?
Beady Beady Beady.
Yeah, I thought his fucking name was Beady.
So. No, his name is Twinkie.
There you go.
I hope maybe I'm even saying that wrong now, but fuck, I'm sorry that I actually said that. I'm embarrassed.
Don't be embarrassed. If you guys don't know this, like my actual formal education, I have a degree in journalism and I studied to be a copy editor. So everything I see and everything I hear, I notice the mistakes continuously. See, that's not how communication works. Communication works in that if the person is expressing something and I understand what they are expressing, that's the important part. When Big D says 3CPO, you know what he's talking about. Come on, man.
I do feel a bit marginalized. Like you're like, come on, guys. He's trying. He's trying. Like I'm the special host who needs to be like everybody. Shh, everybody's really trying.
You have to work harder to do a podcast than I do. That's facts.
Oh, that's very sweet of you. Thank you.
It's cakewalk for me. I just waltz in here. Anyway, what do we have coming up next week?
Gene, we are leaving the month and a half of Jeremiah, sadly. You will live within our hearts for a long time, Jeremiah. Come back, please, again. We miss you. Next week, different film, also exciting. General Bison, the evil dictator of Shadaloo, captures a busload of relief workers and holds them for ransom. Colonel Guile leads the international strike force to invade Shadaloo and rescue the hostages. Along the way, Guile recruits Chung Lee, a reporter and martial arts expert whose father was killed by Bison years ago, 2 young con men, and a sumo wrestler. Commissioned by James L. Did I read something wrong here?
No, it's just...
It's a lot of shit going on.
You got a reporter, the martial arts expert, 2 young con men, and a sumo wrestler. Why not?
Yeah, this is a wild one. Video game movie. I was not a fan of the game. Have not seen the movie, but I do like Van Damme, so this should be a fun one.
Also, Raul Julia's last film role.
I did not know that.
Yeah. And he's great. He's great in it. Just wait. I'm excited. Well, thank you, James, for commissioning our upcoming film. Thank you, Jeremiah, for all the commissions. Thank you to all the commissioners who make this podcast possible. That concludes this week's episode of Shat the Movies. Be sure to follow us on social media, share with a friend. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, and Instagram at Shat the Movies. You can email us, host@shatpod.com. Support the podcast by shopping our Amazon affiliate link, buying our merch, or by commissioning your own movie. Find all the information by visiting our website, shatpod.com. Also, check out our sister podcast, Shat on TV. We review TV series such as Lovecraft Country, Westworld, True Detective, Taboo, American Gods, Game of Thrones, and Watchmen. Find all the information on our website, shatpod.com/TV. Wherever fine podcasts can be found, including Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, and YouTube. Be sure to subscribe. And if you stop by Apple Podcasts, please leave a 5-star review. It helps the podcast grow. And also, shout out to our listeners, Big D. I had mentioned that I'd be open to taking a job with HubSpot and that we'd be open to taking commissions. And we've gotten communication on both topics.
Wow.
Connections at HubSpot and a potential sponsorship by a pipe tobacco company.
Get out of here.
I'm dead serious. And I smoke pipe tobacco. It's wonderful.
Wow. That's you specifically asked for that. You say you ask and you receive.
I still haven't gotten the beer one. Beer would be nice too.
Yeah, don't be greedy.
On behalf of my co-host, Big D, I'm Gene Lyons. Join us next week for the following movie.
After 7 months of fighting, the civil war in Shadaloo may have reached the turning point. The capital has just fallen.
In the ultimate battle, the forces of freedom will face a power-mad dictator in a struggle for the fate of the world.
I'm going to kick Bison's ass.
I don't think so. You'll have to do better than that.
Okay. Now, who wants to go home and who wants to go with me?